In this video, we're going to put the finishing touches on our dialog UI system. We're going to restructure our dialog UI scene, and we're going to make a couple of fixes to how our NPC handles interaction. So let's jump right into our dialog UI, and we're actually going to make quite a bit of changes right now. So I'm just going to minimize our panel for the moment. And inside of our dialog UI, we're going to add a control, which we're going to call our main container. We're going to add another control, which we're going to call our background. We're going to add another control, which we're going to call our 9-patch container. And as another child of our main container, we are going to add a margin container, which we're going to call our content container. Then we're going to add another child to the main container of not a margin container. We're actually going to want this to be a panel container, and we're going to call this our portrait container. As a child of the portrait container, we're going to add a texture rect, which we're going to call our portrait frame. So we're going to add the ability to show a portrait of our NPC if we want to. And then inside of our content container, we're going to make an HBox container, which we're going to call dialog content. We're going to make another child of our content container. It's going to be a margin container, and we're going to call it our footer container. As a child of the footer container, we're going to have an HBox container that we're going to call our continue container. Then we can drag our continue label into the continue container, and we're going to add another child. It's going to be a texture rect, and is going to be our continue sprite. Then inside of dialog content, we're going to add a vbox container, which we're going to call our text container. And as a child of that, we actually can just drag in our name and dialog labels. So those can be inside of that text container. So now that all of this is set, we can get rid of these other nodes here. We're no longer going to need them. Then inside of our 9-patch container, we're going to need a texture rect, and we're going to control D duplicate this until we have 9 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can drag this down a little bit. And each of these texture rects are going to represent a piece of the background of the dialog UI box that we're going to implement with additional sprites. So the naming of this and the ordering of this is intentional, so just bear with me on this. We're going to have, at the end of this, we're going to have a top left and right, a bottom left and right, a middle left and right, middle top, middle bottom, and then the pure middle. So for the pure middle, we're actually going to call it middle middle, which you will see why, because we're also going to have a top middle and a bottom middle. Then we're going to have our middle left. We're going to have our middle right. We're going to have our top left, our top right, and our bottom left, and our bottom right. Then we're going to go into our main container here, and we need to go set a custom minimum size here. So this is going to be 400 by 150, which is the same size that we did before. And we are going to make sure that we are in the preset of the bottom center here. We are going to go into this custom though, and in our anchor offsets, we're just going to add a -10 on the bottom, so it's not sitting so flat on the bottom. Let's go into our 9-patch container texture recs. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have to add a new atlas texture, and we're going to go into our assets folder, and we're going to use the UI pixel. And I'm going to grab the region. So we're going to have to do a lot of this setup here. I am going to use this gray one. Feel free to use whichever one you like. But for the middle, what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to grab this one right here. I'm going to close it. We're going to come back and do more setup with these, but for right now, we just want to go in and grab all these texture rects. So I am going to fast forward this process, just so you don't have to watch me set this up. Okay, so now that's set up, we want to go back in to our background here. We want to make sure that this is a full rect. We also want to make sure that our 9-patch container is a full rect. And now we have to start setting up some properties on each one of these textures so that they're going to be properly fitting inside of our text box here. So for right now, we're going to go to our middle, and the layout here, we're going to have the custom minimum size. We want it to be 40 by 40. We're going to go down into our position here. We want it to be on anchors. And since this is the middle, right now, we're just going to have it on the center. Once we see it all come together, we're going to make it be the full rect as well. Actually, we can just make it full rect right now. Then we're going to go to our top middle. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the scale. We're going to do tile. We're going to do the same thing, 40 by 40. And we're going to anchor it. And we're going to go to the top wide. So you can see now that it's stretched all wide. Then we're going to go to bottom middle, and we're going to do the same thing. Make sure that we have our minimum size, anchors, and we're going to do bottom wide. Then our middle left, we're going to do the same thing, scale on the tile, 40 by 40, anchors. We're going to do left wide, middle right, same thing here, scale on the tile, 40 by 40, set our anchors, and then we're going to go right wide. Top left, we don't need to set the scale. We're just going to do our custom minimum size, hit our anchors, and be on the top left, so that's good. Top right, give it our minimum size, hit the anchors, and put it in the top right. Bottom left, we're going to do the same thing. It's 40 by 40. Anchors, select bottom left, and then bottom right. Going to do the same thing. Okay, so this here is going to be our portrait box. I'm just going to make this not visible right now. By the looks of it, it looks like I've selected some incorrect tiles on mine. So let me just go and fix that real quick. So I think middle left looks a little off. So yeah, I want this one here. Okay, that fixed that. I think this one's off a little bit too. No, that one's actually good. That doesn't look right then. Sorry, let's go to our bottom right, make sure that this is good. I think we're going to select the one below it, actually. I think that one is what we want. Yeah. Okay, that looks a little bit more clean now. Okay, so we can go in. We're going to make our portrait container to be visible now. And we're going to want to change one thing on our portrait frame where the stretch mode here is going to be keep aspect centered. Okay, so let's save this. Then in all of our 9-patch container and all of its children, so we can highlight those, we want to go to the mouse here, and we want this to all be pass. And then the content container and all of its children, we want the mouse here to be on stop. And let's also do that for the footer container. Okay, so let's just make sure that all of these are fine. So the mouse here is on pass. Okay, good. So now let's start building out the portrait container. So our portrait frame is also going to be in Atlas texture. We're going to have to do the same thing with this UI pixel image. And we need to select one of these. I think I'm just going to make it, I think I'm going to make it a different color. So let's go select this. I'm going to make it this one over here. Where are we? Okay, great. Also, the portrait container has a background right now, so let's go to our visibility and self-modulate. Let's just turn that all the way down. Let's make sure it saves. Okay. And for the portrait frame, or the portrait container, I do want to make this a little bit bigger. So we'll make this 80 by 80. And we want this to be in a different location. So this position is going to be a little bit different. So we're going to end up doing more stuff to our text, but I'm going to have the portrait container be somewhere over here. I think that will look good for right now. Then we can go to our footer container, and we want to go to our layout, our container sizing, and our vertical flags. We want to shrink to end. And then in our continue container, we need to do the same thing, except we are going to do this on the horizontal, which is also going to be shrink to end. I did this backwards. This needs to be shrink to end here. Now we have the press E to continue nicely over there. Then we are going to add another atlas texture into our continue sprite. This is also completely optional, but this is just going to give us a little bit more life to this UI dialog box. So I'm just going to actually give it, let's do this one. Okay. We're also going to make this blink a little bit once we get into the script. We're actually going to write that completely in code. I think I'm going to do the white one. That pops a little bit more. Now we need to get these margins properly set up here. So let's go to our content container, our theme overrides. We're going to do margins all across the board at 24. Actually, don't think we need the margin bottom or the margin top. I'm going to increase the margin to be, let's do 35. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then our margin right can also be, actually, we don't need the margin right. We actually, yeah, we're good here. So let's keep it like that. Let's save this. And then we're going to go back into our script. We need to do a bunch of changes here. So let's get rid of our onreadies because they're going to have a different path now. So we're going to need our dialog label and our name label. So let's bring both of those. Let's bring both of those as onreadies. We're going to need our continue container. We're going to need our continue sprite, our portrait frame, and at the top, we are going to need our main container. I'm also going to pull out a new constant, which I'm going to call punctuation marks. We hard-coded this into the code last time, but I'm going to bring this out. So we're going to set this equal to, where were we doing this? Yeah, right here. So we're going to set that equal to that. And then we can go down to here, and we're going to loop through punctuation marks instead. Then we're going to need to create two new variables. The first one is going to be called continue tween, which is going to be of the type tween. And we're going to have a reveal timer, which is going to be a scene tree timer. Down here in our unhandled input method, I'm actually going to, this was on spacebar, so I'm going to change this to be interact, so now we can actually use E. Then inside of our start dialog, instead of our panel.show, what we're going to do is get our main container. We're going to show that. And I'm going to actually go in, I'm going to bring up hide dialog to be right under start dialog, since that makes a little bit more sense to me and they're closely related. So we're going to have to do the same thing here, where our main container is going to be hidden. And then after our clear method here, we're going to have to look if we have a reveal timer. If we do, we're going to do a reveal timer, timeout. We're going to disconnect from it. We're going to do on reveal timer, timeout. We'll make this method shortly. And then right after that, we're going to get the reveal timer again and set it equal to null. This can stay the same. Then in show current page, we're not going to do the continue label now. We're going to do the continue container, but we also do want to hide it. And then after this, we're going to if page has portrait, where you'll show, we'll fix this as well in our get dialog text shortly. If we have a portrait and the page dot portrait does not equal null, then the portrait frame dot texture is going to equal our page dot portrait. Our portrait frame is going to be shown. Otherwise, our portrait frame is going to be hidden. So this is just our setup to, if we have a portrait assigned to our NPC, which is something that we're going to add as a variable to our NPC class. If we have one, we show it. If we don't show that portrait box at all. Now let's go down here, and we need to update this as well to be the continue container. That's all we have to do there. And then below here, we are going to create our on reveal timer timeout. And here we're going to check if we have a reveal timer. And then if we do, we go into our reveal timer, timeout, we disconnect, then we do on reveal. Oh, I should spell that correctly. And then we tap back into this method, get rid of the parentheses. And then we go into our reveal timer, set it equal to null. Now the last thing that we have to do is we want to make the blinking effect for our continue sprite. So we're going to have two methods. It's going to be start continue blink. And then we're going to have stop continue blink. In start, we're going to look if we have a continue tween. And if we do, we're going to kill it. Otherwise, we're going to go to continue tween. We're going to create a tween. We're going to set loops. Then we go to our continue tween. Go to a tween, create a tween property. And we want to do our continue sprite. And we're going to, as a string, pass in modulate :a, comma 0.2, comma 0.5. Then we're going to do the same thing. So copy this. And then we are going to, instead of 0.2, we're going to do 1.0, and then the 0.5 can stay. In stop continue blink, we are going to check if we have our continue tween. If we do, we are going to kill it. We're going to set it to null. And then we get our continue sprite. Modulate .a equals 1.0. So we're just going to reset that modulate to be a 1. Then we want to make sure that we're actually using this. So in our hide dialog, right after we hide this, we're also going to make sure that we stop continue blink. And then within our show current page method, that's where we're going to actually have it blink. So right before we reveal text, we're going to do our start continue blink. Okay, so let's, okay, so we have a little bit of some margin issue now. So let's go back in here and let's add a margin right of 20. You can reset that. So now that that's more properly in place, and let's go see what this looks like. Okay, so now you see we don't have that portrait, but we are getting this. Now you can see how that's blinking. Makes it look a little bit nicer. Okay, now let's put the finishing touches on the NPC so we can actually have that portrait. So let's go to our NPC script. And we're not going to have to do a ton here, but we are going to have an export variable called our portrait, which is going to be a texture. We don't have to assign it anything. And then along with interactable, we're going to create a can interact bool, which defaults to false. So these are going to serve two slightly different purposes. Then in our unhandled input, we're going to check not only for if it's not interactable, we're going to check or it's not can interact, then down here on interaction area entered, if we pass this if statement, we want to set can interact equal to true. So this is going to track if we are in the interaction area, then we are able to interact, because before we were able to press E or interact at any time. So let me, we can actually, let's back up a little bit here. I can actually show what this is going to do. So if we have that, let's go and replay our scene. So here I am. If I press E, we can already play it, and that's not what we want to happen. So what we're going to do here is have a fix for that. So then when we go into our on interaction area exited, we want to set our can interact to false. So that should fix that. So now when we play this, I'm pressing E, it doesn't work. Now let's go into our interaction area, and now I do get it. The last thing that we want to do is account for the portraits. So the only thing that we have to do is update this dialog content dictionary. So we are going to pass in the string of portrait, and then its value is just going to be the portrait. Okay, so now we can still play this. Right now, we're not going to get anything because we haven't given an export variable for the portrait to this NPC. But now if we go back into our NPC scene, we actually want to go into our guide NPC. So now we have this portrait here. So we can input, let's quick load. Let's quick load something. I think we're just going to make an asset. I'm just going to give it the same sprite that we have. It's just going to be easier to demonstrate right now. So let's go back up to our characters, main. We'll do our female sprite sheet. Let's edit the region, and I don't know, let's give it something different at least. So here we go. She can be shooting now. Okay. So now let's run our scene. And so we haven't tested this. We might need some. Okay, that still didn't pop up. So the portraits are not properly hooked up. So let's take a look at that. So in our dialogue, this is where we're checking for this. So, okay, so in the guide NPC's dialogue, I didn't actually provide it the portrait. So we should just need to do this for all of these. So if I copy this line and go after all of these, now this should work. So let's go to our level 2, play it. There we go. All right. So again, not exactly the prettiest, but this gives you something that you'd be able to update yourself or put your own finishing touches on this to make it work for your game. So hopefully you can find this useful.